Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hallmark Movie Drafts 2023 Tournament of Champions. This episode is an overview of the tournament, who's competing in it, and the round one results. Erinbeth and Kate are here with me. I'm Lynn, your host, and together, the three of us are going to peel back the curtain and chat about how this tournament even became a thing. We're going to name some names. We're going to take you through all of round one, and we're going to announce which players are actually advancing to round two. So, Kate and Erinbeth, you can tell by the music intro that these championship shows that the competition in this tournament is going to be epic. What'd you think of the new song, guys?
I really liked it. It was fun.
Yes, very cinematic. Would you say, Kate?
Yes, that is the exact word I was going to use to describe it, cinematic.
What are we doing here, and how did this tournament even become a thing? So about 6 months ago, I knew that I wanted to have something competitive, but without any movie watching, where the players who didn't win their draft could still actively participate, with purpose, still be relevant. And I also wanted the two elimination rounds to be fast paced, nothing time consuming. We all work, we all have busy lives. Everyone, is busy with the holidays too. We're all back to work. So it needs to be something that was going to be, fun, but fast paced. So for round one, I always envisioned it as being a list of survey questions that the past players and co-hosts would respond to, and then a master list would be created, and the players in the tournament would get points for matching the answers, kind of like Family Feud. So the original questions that I came up with were things like, name 3 fake relationship movies. Name something a bad boyfriend in a Hallmark movie does. Name a product that's promoted inside a Hallmark movie. So that was the original thought. But then Kate and I put our heads together because I was worried about how open-ended those questions were, and what if nobody matches any of them? Then everybody's time's wasted and it would totally suck, right? And why do it? So Kate suggested having everyone rank a list of 10 of the movie titles that had been ranked first in the 2023 drafts. So rank the numbers, number 1 all the way through 10. Perfect. She solves the problem. And that's what we ended up doing. And then in terms of scoring, Kate, you and I and your color-coded spreadsheet just went off the rail in depth. Right?
Yeah, it was fun, but we figured it out.
It was fun. We figured it out. We've got 3 points for every correct title in the correct ranking. Then it was going to be 2 points if the title was one off in either direction, up or down on the list, and then 1 point if the ranking was off by 2 positions, either up or down on the list. And then I think there's 1 point if you got the top 3 titles ranked perfectly, 1, 2, and 3 at the list. Have I forgotten anything, Kate?
No, that was it.
Was that at all?
That's
all
how
right.
we did
That's
it.
the scoring. We'll talk about that in a second. So first of all, there were about 35 double-deckers who were part of the 2023 season, either as a panelist or as a guest co-host. So Erinbeth, can you read the list of the 15 past panelists and guest co-hosts who got the survey link to submit their ranked list of 10 movies for round one?
Of course. With Sarah, Catherine, Jackie, Jessica, Tracy, Erin, Vanessa, Jillian, Mrs. Walker, aka Emily, Jane, Bran, Erin, Susie, and of course, Lynn, you and me.
Great. Okay, so 14 of those 15 folks submitted their rankings through a Google Forms survey link, and Kate tallied them up, came up with the final ranked list of the 10 movie titles that had all been ranked first in their 2023 draft, and that the championship players would need to try to match. So, Kate, can you tell us what the final ranked list was, please, based on the survey responses from the past drafters and co-hosts who aren't competing in the tournament?
Yeah, in 10th place, everyone's favorite ice wine movie, The Perfect Pairing. In 9th place, the Ron Oliver classic, I Do, I Do, I Do. In 8th place, the brilliant Anything for Love.
Yes.
In seventh place, Falling for You, the OG Ty Hines movie. In sixth place, Curious Caterer Dying for Chocolate. I have no fun thing to say about that movie. In fifth place, Crown for Christmas, featuring an actress who no longer appears on the channel. In fourth place, The Brilliant Dickens of a Holiday. In third place, Classic An Unexpected Christmas. In second place, The Wild, best male lead performance in my opinion, Haul Out the Holly. And in first place, brand new Hallmark classic, Round and Round.
Awesome. Absolutely. Absolutely awesome. Those are the movies. There were 14 players that won their draft match. So these are the players that are going to be competing in the tournament to potentially be crowned, the overall champion of 2023. And there's more than 12 because a couple of the monthly drafts had, ties for winning. So can you read the list of the 14 double-deckers who are actually competing in round one, and they were trying to match the list that Kate just read?
It's Meredith, Brian, Shannon W., Amy, Hillary, Michelle, Jen, Daniel, aka Dan, Stephanie, Mary, Elizabeth, Ryan, Yumi, and Cece.
Great. All great players. It's so wonderful to have everybody on. So, so once again, Kate and I got together to review her spreadsheet that outlined each of the players' lists, and we started scoring them all. And Kate, it was really interesting to see how these players ended up putting together a ranked list of movies that had all been ranked number one. There were a few surprises, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think for number one, I wasn't very shocked. It seemed like everyone was kind of on the same page with that one, but it was fun to see everything in the middle. Like the number one and number 10 were pretty solid for everybody, and then seeing what people like the most in the top and the bottom half of their lists varied a lot more.
Yeah. So we can talk more about that after we get through announcing who's going on to round two. But before we announce who's moving on to round two, let's announce and talk about who's not moving on to round two, unfortunately. So there were 4 scorers who are not moving on to round two that were at the bottom. Kate, can you mention who those 4 champs are that aren't going to be continuing in the tournament?
Yep, so those 4 are Ryan, Stephanie, Elizabeth, and Yumi.
Right. They each scored 13 or less points. And our top scorer, that we'll get to, had 25 points. So you can see there's a big difference between who scored the most and then what some of those bottom scores all. But Ryan, Stephanie, Elizabeth, aka General Cullen, and Yumi, they're all competitive drafters, but luck just wasn't on their side. There were 2 other players who literally just barely missed making the cut to move on to round two because they each scored 18 points. So they tied, for 9th place, basically, but we're only doing the top 8. So Kate, who are the 2 players who just barely missed out on making the cut?
So those were Shannon W. and Cece.
Yeah, it was super, super close. So big round of applause for Ryan and Stephanie, Elizabeth, Yumi, Cece, and Shannon W. Valiant effort, but we're going to say goodbye to them in round 1. And now we're going to turn the page and we're going to talk about who's moving on, who are the 8 who are going to move on to round 2. So first up, with the highest score of 25 is Meredith. Meredith, who likens Michael Rady to a delicious cinnamon roll in the Taylor Cole draft. So Meredith moves on to round 2. Congratulations. Next up, we had a 4-way tie with 20 points, 4 players. Kate, who were the 4 players who were moving on? They tied with 20 points each.
So that was Michelle, Daniel, aka Dan, Mary, and Brian.
Okay, Michelle, Mary, Daniel, aka Dan, and Brian. We have Michelle from the Falls Field Draft. Mary won the Lacey Chabert Mega Draft. Dan tied with Elizabeth to win the Battle Royale Draft, and he also was the sole winner for the When Calls the Heart lead cast draft for our first anniversary show. And then Brian literally just won the best 2023 Christmas movie draft, which just aired. Mary drafted in that as well with Brian, but she lost to Brian. Those are our first 5 competitors. So far we have Meredith, Michelle, Mary, Dan, Daniel, and Brian. And next we have room for 3 more. So Erinbeth, who are the final 3 players moving on to round 2? These are the folks who all got 19 points to make the cut, which makes Cece and Shannon W's cut at 18 a big ouch, but we were only taking 8. So who are the final 3 that are going to be moving on to round 2?
Amy, Hillary, and Jen.
Amy, Hillary, and Jen. Amy and Hillary were co-winners in the Brennan Elliott draft, which was just nutty because if you remember, all 3 players tied their score in that crazy draft. Hillary also drafted in the 10 most memorable moments of The Way Home season 1, but she didn't win that draft. Ryan won. And then Jen won the epic Tyler Hines draft, and she's still the only player to get all 10 of her personal movie title picks onto the final drafted list. And she also won the Autumn Reeser draft in November. So both Jen and Dan, aka Daniel, each won 2 drafts to be eligible for this competition. So here's the field of 8 that's moving on to round 2. It's Meredith, Michelle, Mary, Daniel, aka Dan, Brian, Amy, Hillary, and Jen. Oh, wow. You guys, what do you think of this field of 8? What do you think the competition's going to be like?
They definitely are a modge podge of people of likes. Just knowing them personally, like this is going to be crazy. Whether they're going to be able to move on, what they're going to be able to do. I like this group. This good group.
What about you, Kate?
Yeah, I know there's some pretty competitive people in this group, but also I know there's some very entertaining people in this group. So I think it'll be fun.
I think it's going to be fun and really entertaining. So let's talk about what round 2 looks like, just, at a pretty high brief level. So round 2 is going to take place over the next couple of weeks. It's kind of this beat the clock lightning round, kind of like, round 1 was really Family Feud sort of style. So this one is going to be super fast paced. And this round of play will actually be recorded with each of the players, each of those 8 players. So they're going to meet with me. They're going to answer a series of questions, super fast. They're going to meet with me one-on-one, answer these questions. They'll get a point for each correct answer that they get within this time limit. And then the top 3 scores will advance to the final round, where those 3 players will actually face off in drafting a list with a twist. And we'll be welcoming back all 2023 players and co-hosts to sit in on that final recording where a list is going to be drafted, because they're going to vote for who actually wins and is crowned 2023 champ based on having the best list. So it's kind of like this Survivor jury style ending. Lots to coming up throughout January of with the tournament draft, the tournament championship. But before we even get to round 2, we have the 10 best non-holiday movies of 2023 draft that's coming up in a few days. It's another huge draft where Tracy, Kate, and Langley, a fabulous first-time drafter, have spent months watching the 2023 Hallmark movies that weren't part of Christmas in July or the Countdown to Christmas. And so they're going to battle it out to find the 10 best ones, create that list together. So big stuff for January. You guys excited?
Always.
Excited.
All right. Way to bang out this show on a rainy, snowy Saturday where I am. Let's all say bye.
Hello.
Bye.
Hallmark Movie Drafts is produced by me, Lynn Austin, with additional creative and research support from Erinbeth and Catherine Baca. This show would not be possible without the dedicated and talented Deck the Hallmark podcast double-deckers who share their passionate opinions on these Hallmark movies that we love, or maybe not love, so much. Intro and outro music is courtesy of Amada Zapana. If you love this pod, please leave a 5-star review. It helps other Hallmark movie fans to find us and join in on the shenanigans. Be sure to follow the show at Hallmark Movie Drafts on Instagram.